Okay. So I'm Siyochuku. Welcome to the session. So we're getting started now. So what we're going to do today, like I said, is going to be we're going to build an agricultural landing page, a website landing page. So to do that, we need desktop mode. We need the desktop mode. So you guys are late today for class. We're almost getting started. So we're going to create the website page. There's the website design. We are going to use the presentation layout over here. Presentation layouts. So go ahead and start by clicking the presentation layouts. And then once you click on it, you click on blank presentation, create a blank presentation. That same way, if you click on this plus sign, you still select presentation. It's still the same process. Click on the plus sign, you select presentation over here. So that's what we're going to be using for today's design. Now, once we have the layouts, we're going to start designing immediately. We don't have time to waste. We already wasted enough time by waiting for others to join the section. Now, for this design, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working on an agricultural website. So we'll head straight to get a background. You have to use the background, an agricultural background, like let's say a farm or whatever. You use the background. And once you add the background, every other thing you are doing is going to reflect properly. So let's get started. First of all, you go to the Elements tab, and then you search for agriculture, or you search for farm. You can search for farm, you can search for agriculture. So you search for agriculture or farm, and then you go to the photo section, and then you look for a nice picture of a farm. So look for a nice picture of a farm. Let me give you a hint. Since we are using a presentation layout, look for a picture that looks like this. That is, what's it called? Rectangle. Don't get a picture that is square in shape. Don't get a picture that is square in shape that is going to be hard for you to work on, because if you start expanding this picture, I know that most pictures here are high quality, but if you start expanding it, it's going to lose some quality. So what you're going to do is you look for a picture that has a rectangle layout like this, so that it's going to be easy for you to use. So that means once you expand it, it's not going to shrink, it's not going to lose image quality. Now, what I want to do is I want to remove the sky. I don't need the sky for anything. So I want to remove the sky. So I'll just have to crop out the top of this picture. If you are working on your own, you can decide to leave the sky, or you can leave a little bit of the sky, just like this one. And then you push the image up. You can expand this way and then push this way. So depending on what you're trying to do, you will decide on the place you want to. You can either expand from the right side or expand from the left side. Depends. Now I'm going to do this, and then I have a background image. Can you guys hear me? Are you guys following? Can you guys hear me? Okay. Now I want you guys to pay attention. Now, once we are done with this, we have the picture is covering the whole layout. That's what we want exactly. So it's covering the whole layout. Make sure the picture is covering the whole layout. Make sure it's covering the whole layout. Now, the next thing we are going to do is we are going to dive in straight to adding the company logo, and then we add the navigation bar, the contact us, and then after that, we can add some tests. Now, like I said, we are going to draft out layouts. Last class, I told you guys we're going to talk about layouts. So talking about layouts simply means to map out the way your page is going to look before adding extra elements. That means you add the shapes, the designs without adding the text. And then after that, you start adding some text to the design. Hope you guys are following what I'm saying. So let's do the mapping out and then let's see how it goes from there. Once you're done with selecting your image, expand to the page, cover the whole background, and then you search for a square. Now, this square you're searching for, you search for it under shapes, and then use this particular one because this one is customizable. This is what we're going to be using for this design, throughout this design. So we're going to increase this a little bit. We're going to take this, we'll place it at the edge of the screen. Like I said, make sure nothing is touching the edge of the screen. If you are working on any design, make sure everything is centered. Make sure nothing is touching the edge of the screen. Now, once you place it, you're going to change the color of this to white. And then we're going to duplicate this particular one. Just add your desired size. Once you get your desired size, click on this one, you duplicate it, and then you bring this one by the side. Make sure it's aligned with the other one. Make sure it's aligned properly. Make sure it's aligned. And once you get the alignment, you expand this one to the extreme like this. And then the next button that is going to be this side is going to be identical to this one. So we duplicate again, and then we place over here. Now, once we place it, we check for the spacing. If you are shifting it, we check for the spacing. So we want to have the same spacing. Are you guys following? If you are following, give a thumbs up. All right. So once you place the second shape, you make sure the spacing shows. Make sure the number of the spacing shows. And once you get that number of the spacing, you are good to go. Next thing you have to do is you're going to group these three together. I'm going to tell you the reason. So you're going to group it together. Once you're done grouping it together, you move it to the center of the page. Moving to the center of the page, you should see this straight line. Are you seeing this straight line at the center of the page? That's the center. So once you group it, you can then move it to the center of the page. So you make sure everything is aligned to the center. Hope you guys are following. So once we are done with that, we have covered for the navigation. Now we need to add more details to the navigation. We're going to duplicate this particular shape. We're going to duplicate it. This time around, we are placing this one inside the box. We are going to reduce the size a little bit and place it inside this box. Now we're going to change the color from pure white. Change it from pure white. You go to the color palette, and then let's say you tweak the colors a little bit. You make this one, you don't want it to be white as the other one, so you just darken it a little bit. Or since you're working with agricultural websites, you can decide to make it green or something. Let's say something like this, whitish green, and then you have this shape. Now, once you have the shape here, make sure the shape is aligned to the center also, and then you just make enough space, enough room for whatever you're going to add inside this box. Once again, once you're done with that, you go ahead to regroup all of them, including that particular shape, and then you group. So we are done with this navigation section already. Are you guys following so far? Are you guys following? Okay. Now we're done with this navigation section. We're not going to be adding any text yet, but once we start adding text, you understand what we are doing. Now, the second thing we are going to work on is the some of the elements we're going to be adding to the background. So we're going to add this shape over here. And then this shape here is going to contain some things during the design. And then we have to change the color of the shape. This is where we decide the accent color we are using for the company. So let's assume we are using this color for the company. Okay, let's assume we are using this color for the company. This is the color that matters. The color matters. The color is very, very important to this design. But we're going to be calling that particular color in some places whenever we are going. So that's the accent color for the company. Now, the next thing we are going to do is we are going to duplicate this, and then we change this one to white, pure white, this second one to pure white. Now, once we change it to pure white, we just reduce the size a little bit by you drag it from the left side, just reduce it a little bit so that it's not going to be the same size with the green one. And after that, you push it to the center of the green one like this. Once you push it to the center of the green one, click on the white one and position it to the back of the green one. So you should have something like this once you're done with that. So you don't want the card to popping out too much. So you have to push the card down a little bit just to look like this. So it looks as if there's a white card behind the green card. So that's what we're working, that's what we're trying to get. That's what we're trying to accomplish. Now pay attention to this box we added here. You know, we used whitish green accents. Now, since we have this all over here, you can tweak this one to that color depending on what you want to do, but I think this works perfectly. You can just make it to darken a little bit so that it looks, you can see that the color is popping out here. Are you guys following so far? So um okay, all right, just turn off your camera so that the network is not going to disturb. All right, so we are done with this section. The next section we are going to work on is the cards under that particular card. We're going to work on the card under that particular card. So let's get started. So we're going to duplicate this card, bring it down. After that, we'll group this and this together. We group these two together so that we can move this one together. That's why we grouped it together. Remember, we are working on the structure. We are not adding any write-ups yet. So that's the way to design. Once you're done with the structure and you feel like you have done enough, you can now start adding some details to it. And since we have added this card, what we're going to do is any place that this card stops, this place that this card stops, that's what we're aligning with. So we're going to align with this one. Remember, we're working with alignments. Anything we are doing, we're working with alignments. You guys remember, right? So once we create this particular card, we align with this one. We duplicate this one, but before that, we change the color to white. So we're just working with the green and white accents for now. So we duplicate this one, and then we place it by the side. Now, if you are placing by the side, we are aligning with this edge of this place. So if you are placing, you should see a line. The line that shows the alignment with this, and then the center line here that shows the alignment with this one. So watch carefully. Are you seeing it? So you see, you're meant to see two lines, just like my own. The first line is aligning vertical. The second one is aligning horizontal. Are you guys following? All right. Any questions so far? If you have any question, ask your question. Any questions so far? Nobody has any question. How is that even possible? Okay. All right, so let's continue. Now, what we are going to do is we have this card, and these two cards are equal size. You guys know, right? We also have this card over here. So what we're going to do now next is we're going to push the card down a little bit. Let's say we push it down using our direction keys. Just push it down and push this one down also. Remember to watch the alignment. Make sure you see the line before you leave it. I want to give a little bit space under here. Now, once we are done with these cards, once we are done with these things we are running, we're almost finished. Now, the next thing we are going to do is we are going to add frames to the boxes because we want to be adding picture. So we're going to add frames. Can someone tell me the reason why we're adding frames to the picture? Go ahead.
So we can put a man in or a woman inside.
Richard, it's not about putting man or woman inside. The frame can be used to put any type of image. So just say it's used for putting images inside. So we place images inside the frame. It's not a must that is man or woman. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, so that's correct. It's used for placing images inside, whether man or woman or animal or whatever. So that's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to be using this. As you can see, the boxes are curved. They are boxes, each of our shape is curved. The corners are rounded. This is 51 corner rounding. If you are not happy with the rounding, you can decide to round your own differently. But that's what we are going to be using for today's class. So this also should be rounded. The corner rounding for this frame is 23. So we have to change it to 51. The reason being that we want it to match the curve section of these boxes. So you pay attention to those details. If you are adding a frame, you carve it, make sure the corner rounding, like this particular shape, the corner rounding is 51. So we are changing the corner rounding for the frame to 51. Hope you guys are following. So that when you place it on a card, just like this, the corner rounding is going to match perfectly. But if you don't do that, if you decide not to do that, and then you go ahead to add another card, add a frame that doesn't have the same corner rounding, it's going to look off. Hope you understand. For example, if I remove this corner rounding, are you seeing that this square shape without corner rounding is distorting this shape here? So as you can see, it has a pointed angle. The 45 angle is pointed, so that's not what we're looking for. So we need something that is curved the same way the boxes are curved, so that the design would be perfect. Now, since we are adding this to this side, we have to duplicate and place also to this side. Pay attention, align properly, and then we have an identical box here. So over here, we're adding some write-offs, and also here, we're going to be adding some write-offs. Someone said I'm not able to round the corners of my square. Okay, I think I know the problem. Let's check. Okay, so if you add a square to your design, just on the top of this page here, you see corners. You see something like corners over here. You click on the corners and then you add the numbers. You can add the number we are using, 51 here, or you can depending on the corner we want to add, just click on the corner rounding, these corners here, and then you add 51 here to get that particular shape we are using. Hope you understand. All right. Now, since we are done with the layouts, what else do we want to do? We are not yet done. We are going to add some few details to this. I'm going to duplicate this shape. Now, mind you, if you have already grouped any item like this and you want to duplicate only one particular item, or you want to change any particular item, double click on that item and it's going to highlight only that item. You understand? Just double click on the item, is going to highlight only the item. Now I've double click on this. I'll do Ctrl C and Ctrl V to copy and paste. And then I'm going to bring the button down over here. Now this particular button, I'm going to make it colorless, but I'm going to add a border to it. That's a stroke style. Then so that it's going to have edge. I'm going to do 2-stroke style and change the border color to that accent we are using, which is this. So we have this button here. Now the next thing we are going to do is, I think this button, the border is not showing properly. So let me increase it to 4, so you guys can see very well. So we have this button here. Now we're going to duplicate this button and place over here. So we have the same measurements. Pay attention to the alignments and the measurements. So we have the same measurements over here. And then this time around, this particular button is not going to be the same with the other one, which is colorless. We are going to change this particular one. We're going to give color to it. And then the next thing we are going to do to it is add another button. This other button is going to be more like a support button for this. So what I'm going to do is I'll duplicate this once more. I'll reduce this particular one until I have something that looks like a circle. So I have something like this. Are you guys following? Are you guys following? Now we have lemon green or lemon green, and the website is looking boring already. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this particular color to something else. We're going to change this particular one to something like dark green. The reason being that we're going to try as much as possible to accommodate other colors, just to make the website not to be boring. So we do that here. We do that here also. And then the next thing we're going to do, we duplicate this circle, place it here. Just place it here. Just to have this effect. Now we are going to place it proper so that it enters the angle of the rounded corners. So you should have something like this at the end of your setup. Now the next thing we are going to do is we're going to duplicate this once more, and then we place it over here. And once we place it over there, we're going to change this particular one back to the accents we were using before. That's the lemon. So we should have something like this at the end of this setup. Are you guys paying attention so far? So it's all about duplicating shapes. You duplicate the shapes, duplicate the frames, duplicate the shapes. Anything you are doing, just duplicate and then align properly. Align properly, duplicate, and then make sure you maintain the accent colors. Now, what if you are done with the design and you feel like the picture you chose is not doing justice to your design, you can simply delete the picture and add another picture. It doesn't really matter. You are not seeing what you duplicated. If you duplicate something and it's not visible, that means maybe the same color. If it's difficult for you to duplicate, once you click on the item you want to duplicate, do Ctrl C, then click somewhere else, do Ctrl V. It's going to paste. Look at, if you pay attention, it's going to paste it on top of the one you just selected. Make sure you drag it out from there so that you see it properly. If you duplicate, sometimes it overlaps the one that you have already. So you have to drag it out so that you can see what you're doing, or change the color of this one. So let's get started with the finishing touches. Firstly, we start with the company logo. And then let's say the company we are working with, we're going to give it a name, but let's get a logo first. Let's say Agric logo or farm logo. You say Agric logo or farm logo, you should have something on the logo on graphics section. So if you search for it under graphics, you should have logos to use, sample logos to use. So I'm going to add this logo, then I'm going to change the color to match the accent we are using so that everything looks perfect. Or you can add the second accent. So we have two colors now that we're working with. We have the lighter green and the dark green. Now I'm going to add this logo to this circle. This over here, I'm going to add the logo here. Align to the center. Make sure you are seeing the alignment line. Align to the center. Once you do that, the next thing you have to do is just adding the company name beside it. Now to do that, you're going to select the text at the menu here, and then you add the subheading. Let's say Agrico. Let's say the name is Agrico. Change the color of the font to black. Let's say Agrico. Then I'm going to reduce the size of the Agrico, and then I'm going to align to the center also. So we have the company name beside the logo. Are you guys following? All right. Now, once you add the company logo and the company name, the next thing we are going to do is we duplicate that same write-up because we want the write-up to be the same size. Just duplicate the write-up, and then you bring it over to this side. Now, over to this side, we have to add the navigations. Like I said, this is the website design. We add the navigations. Let's say the first navigation is home. Now, I'm going to give you an idea of how to do this without adding tests from time to time. You don't need to be adding multiple tests. So once you write the first test, home, what you're going to do is you give spacing. Let's say you add 10 spacing per write-up, let's say per word. So I'll do home, and then I'll tap my spacing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If I feel like it's too small, I'll add extra 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 15 spacing per write-up. Now, after home, the next thing we are going to be adding is, let's say the company has drones, the farm has drones that they use. So let's say they sell drones, and then we'll do 15 spacing again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now, the next thing we're going to do is how it works. That's how the company works. And then we'll do 15 spacing again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now, let's say you do services they render. So we have 4 navigations here. I think that's enough. So we add it and align properly to the center. Are you guys following so far? Hope you guys are following. All right. Now you go back to the Agrico, duplicate the Agrico again, and then you place this one at the center over here. Now this one is different from others. This one we're going to call it search. That's if you want to search for anything on this website. Now in this particular search, we are going to reduce the transparency of the write-up to about 50% or 40%. We don't want it to be that visible. So we reduce it, and then we reduce the font also, make it smaller than the normal text. Align to the center. Always align to the center, don't forget it. And then the next thing we'll do is we look for search icon. We're going to be adding an icon to the side of this search. So we search for the icon on the elements. So we search for search icon. Don't worry about these fonts. We're going to change the fonts once we are done with everything, because they are not looking nice. So we search for search icon, and then once we get it, we reduce the size, and then you add it to this place. Make sure it's very, very small. Make sure it's as small as the write-up itself. Align to the center and just place perfectly. Align to the center and place perfectly. And then you can just bring the search closer to it. Now, the same thing you did for the search, you can decide to reduce the transparency of this one also. Let's say 50 or 60 is okay for that particular icon. So we have something like this at the end of that. Are you guys following so far? Are you guys following? We have about 20 minutes to round up. So we're almost done. All right. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we add another write-up. So we duplicate this agri-color again. We're using the agri-color because it's an independent test. It's standing on its own. We cannot use these ones because these ones are multiple tests. So over here, we write contact us. That's if someone wants to contact the company. So that's what this button for. So they click this button to contact the company. Like I said, make sure you align to the center, align properly. So we are done with the navigation bar. The only thing left for this navigation is just to change the font type. That's the write-up, the font style or type. But we're not going to touch that for now. The next thing we are going to do right now is we're going to add pictures to this place, and then we'll add some write-ups. So let's say the company sells drones. Over here, they say drone. So we are going to add two pictures of two different types of drone here. And then we just add random write-ups. Remember, if you are designing for someone, you already have details of their company. So you're going to be adding their own details, not random tests. You don't add random write-ups. We're just doing it for practical purposes. So let's go ahead to the elements, back to the elements, search for drone. So we're going to add drone, and then we're going to add drone remote. We're going to add drone remote here. We're going to add drone here. So we search for drone under photos to get a picture of a drone, a nice picture of a drone. Let's say something like this. You place it inside the box. Just take your time, look for a nice picture, place inside the box as a drone picture. Or you can search for a picture of a drone that has some green. Are you seeing this green background? This green background shows that the drone is being flown at the farm. So you look for a picture of a drone that is being flown on the farm. You know, something like this would work. But this is for paid Canva, so I don't have paid accounts. So you look for a drone that is being flown at the farm. So you can search for it on Google. If you don't have enough picture on Canva, you can just search for farm drone. Let me just search for farm drone. Let me see if I can see a better picture. Search for farm drones. So you have a better pictures of drones being used in the farm. So that's why I said you search for farm drones. This is a perfect picture of a farm drone. So I'm going to use this particular one. I think it's too small. So let's go ahead and crop it out so that we can focus on the drone. So that if we add it to the frame, it's going to focus on only the drone. So we drag this into the frame. So we have a farm drone. And then we search for drone remote control or drone control or drone controller, anyone. So if you have something like this, this is a drone controller. You can just simply place it over here. And that should show the person that the types of controller that is available. You understand? So we have the drone, we have the controller. Remind you, the company sells different types of drone. So this is okay for now. And if you want the picture, you know, this picture we are using here is plain, the background is plain white. If you want a more picture that looks a little bit better, you can take your time to search for picture that has background, that has some sort of greenery on the background. So we have some grass here. So this works perfectly than the other one. So just take your time to look for a picture of a controller that looks better than the one you've used already. Right. So let's not waste much time on that. You understand what I'm saying? Take your time to look for your nice pictures that you use for your designs. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Google and then we're searching for drone. Let's say about drone. We search for, let's say we search for about drones, and then we search for, just for example, if you're working on a design, you should have write-ups you want to add. But let's just say we want to just do some freestyle. What we're going to do is we're just going to, let's duplicate some text here and then bring it down here. Then I'm going to paste the text I copied from Google. Now, the idea I want to use is the write-up itself. This write-up you're seeing here is kind of, is too much. So I'm going to use it, by the way. I just copied some random write-ups. So this write-up, for example, is just, let's say the write-up about the drone. Let's say the details about the drone. Hope you guys are following. This is just like the details about the drone. What you have to know about the drone. And then we're going to add another write-up. This particular one is the drone name itself. This one is going to be the drone name, while the other one is going to be about the drone. That's the other write-up under it. Now, this particular one, we change the color to that darker green. That's write-up. Change it to this. Or we make it a little bit darker because that's a test. You can just go back, tweak this color a little bit, make it just a little bit darker. But it's going to be green also. Now, after that, you duplicate this and this. To do that, you just highlight the two using your shift, hold your shift button, and then you click on this and this, and then you duplicate the two once, and then you move it to the other side. It's very, very simple. So you hold your shift key, click on this. Don't remove your hand on the shift key. Hold your shift key, click on this and click on this. And then you see duplicates. You duplicate the two, place it here. And then you have perfect alignment. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you change the write-up and then you search for drone controller. Write-up about drone controller. And then what I'm going to do is I'll just pick some write-ups for drone controller. I don't really know their names, so let me just say control. Let me just call this one control Vitor. Vitor. So let's just assume this is the name of the controller. And then we're going to paste the write-up we copied from Google over here. So we have a perfect symmetrical arrangement for the write-ups and whatever we're adding to the page. And then, so far so good. Any questions, any confusions? You guys have any problems so far? If you're following what I'm saying so far, give a thumbs up if you're following what I'm saying so far. All right. Now, the next write-up we're going to add to these boxes is we're going to add, let's say, explore more and view details. So we are going to duplicate this once more. Place this at the center of the page and say view more. View more. This view more, we are going to reduce the size. It's bulky. We are going to reduce it to 20. The view more button. Reduce it to 20. You can also change the color to that dark green or whatever. Change the color also. And then you duplicate that particular write-up. Place it the other side. This time around, you change the color back to white because the button is already green. And then you write explore. So we have view more button and then we have explore button. You can change this button to black if you don't like the green, depends on what you want. So the next thing that we're going to add to this circle here is the arrow, so that someone knows that as a button. So let's say arrow in the elements, we add an arrow. Simple arrow can work, tiny simple arrow can work. So I'm going to add an arrow to the page, reduce the size of the arrow very, very well. And then I'm going to drag the arrow into that shape. All right, so we have something like this. So we have an arrow to work with. So once you place the arrow, use your directional keys to move it around until you get the center alignment. So we have this right now. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add, let's say, sunlight to the other circle. So let's say sunlight icon. Sunlight icon. This sunlight icon, we're going to search for it on graphics. So we have these various icons, something like this. That's what we're going to be needing for this particular section. Now, this sunlight, we're going to reduce it very, very well. Once you place it at this circle, make sure it's at the center of this circle, and then you check for the color, you change the color to white. Now, as you can see, this particular icon I selected doesn't have color changes. This is a plain black icon. I'm going to swap it very, very fast. I'm going to swap it with something else. Another sun icon. Let's see. Okay, so this one has color changes over here. So we have nothing to worry about. So reduce the size once more. Add it to the center of this. Change the color of the icon to white. And then we have something like this. Make sure to align properly. The design is all about alignments. All the designs we are running is all about alignment. If you don't align properly, it's going to show. Now, this particular shape here, what we're going to do with it is we duplicate this arrow here, move it to that place, place it at the center, and rotate upward. So we are rotating this one upward so that it looks different from this one. After that, because the shape is light, the color of the shape is light, we are going to change this particular arrow icon color to something else. So you can change it to black, you can change it to dark green. I think dark green works perfectly. Are you guys paying attention so far? Now, since we are done with the basics, now I've taught you guys several times how to draw out a profile. So that's what we're going to be doing right now. We're going to draw out profile because we're going to be adding review to this place, reviews. So that's why we're drawing out profiles. Now, first of all, let's do some write-offs. We do duplicates. And then what we're going to do with this is we write the number of reviews they have, total star. Let's say we have 4.5, 4.9 rating. So that's the reviews the company has. So 4.9 rating. And then I'm going to increase the size of this 4.9 rating. And then I'm going to duplicate this once more. Place it under this 4.9 rating. Reduce the size of this one. Remove the bold on this one. And then what I'm going to write here is, let's say, something like over 1,000 plus users reviewed this, reviewed. Okay, let's say over 1,000 plus user reviews. So we reduce the size perfectly for that one. This here, this rating here, if you don't want to add this rating as right up, you can remove this rating. But if you don't do that, you can add star to the side, to the back. Let's say you add the star. Automatically, the star icon represents rating, something like this. Represents rating. this particular star represent rating. So if you add a star to this, automatically, if someone sees it, the person knows that this is for review. So you just make the star as little as possible, and then you're going to place it on top of the 4.9, just like 4.9 raised to power star, to show you that that is review. Now, the most important parts after this section is the framing of the profiles. So we are framing the profiles just to show that different people review the platform. So to create a profile, we already did this multiple times. Reduce, let me increase this so you see what I'm doing. Reduce the size of the profile, duplicates, place, duplicates, duplicates. So we have 4 images that's going to go into this place. Align properly. After that, you go straight to the element and then you look for, like Richard said, you look for man, picture of a man. You go to you go to the photos, you just pick profiles. I think that looks way big again. So once you add the picture, you're going to reduce the size of the picture a little bit, so that it's going to focus on the person's face. Now, once you're done with that, you drag the picture inside the frame. You drag it inside a particular frame. You bring another picture of another man. Focus on the face. You drag it into another picture. Now, I want to mix it up, so I'm going to drag it into the second frame. So we have woman, man, woman, man. So since we are done with man, we'll look for woman under photos, and then you get a picture of a woman. Reduce the crop out the part you don't want. Focus on the face. Place it. You look for another person. The same process. So we have profile pictures for the reviews. Now, since we are done with that, let me zoom in so you see how it looks. So this is how the reviews look. Now, what we are going to do is you click on the first one, hold your shift key, click on the second one, third one, or fourth one, and then you group them together. Now you can expand any size you want. That's the reason why we align and then set up all the structures we want. Now we're going to reduce this, and then we'll place it here, align properly and place, reduce it perfectly so that it looks small, so that someone can just see the person's face. Are you guys following so far? Now we're going to push it down a little bit, and then this right up under this 4.9 rating, we'll bring it down, and we have equal spacing between the two, 21, 21, so that we have space in between the 3 write-ups. This 4.9 rating looks small, so we kind of increase it further. Just increase a little bit, and then adjust so that it's not going to be touching the stars. Now for the star itself, we have to push the star. Make sure the star is not touching the number 9. Then let's push this down furthermore, and then place this one at the center until we see the same spacing in between them. So we have this right now. The only thing missing in this design is the main write-up. So let's add the main write-up. We add a new text. Add a new text. We add a heading. Now let's say something like piloting the future of agriculture. highlighting the future of agriculture. Then we place that write-up and align with this place. Remember to justify your write-ups. Anytime you write something like this, you justify properly. And then once you align here, you have something like this. Now, pay attention. Like I said earlier on this video, when we wanted to start the class, if your write-up is clashing with your image, that means your image is either too bright, or like we're using white text here, the image is too bright. That's the problem. Now, you can solve this by reducing the transparency of the image, depending on the type of image. But if you reduce this type of image, it's going to turn white because the background is white. The background behind this image is white. That's what I'm saying. But if you have a dark background behind the image and you reduce transparency, it's going to work out perfectly. So I'll just reduce the size of this image, click on the background, which is white color, change it to black, and then zoom back the image. Now let's try and see what happens. If I reduce transparency, are you seeing what I'm saying? So because the background behind it is black, it's not going to be a problem. It's not going to turn white anymore. So now you can darken it to the way you want so that the text can be shown perfectly. Are you guys understanding what I'm saying? Hope you guys are following so far. Let me repeat myself. If your picture, the color of your picture is disturbing the write-up, swipe down the picture, click on the background, change the color of the background to darker, that's black color, instead of that white, and then zoom back the picture, reduce transparency, it's going to turn out fine. You know, it was like this. If you darken it a little bit, the white write-up shows perfectly. That's why I have to do that. So we have this as the final design, but we're not done yet. So this is like 9:45. We are 5 minutes past the time we are meant to stop. But let's just touch up the write-up so that everything looks good. So let's start with the company name, Agricola. We change the fonts to, let's do Poppins. We might actually use Poppins for this whole write-ups. So we do Poppins for this. Pay attention to this. You see, this is bolded. This is the company name, so that's not a problem. This particular one, we add Poppins, we remove the bold. So now you're going to be paying attention to this. If you add Poppins, remove the bold for the normal write-ups, leave only for the important write-ups. Contact us, remove the bold, add Poppins. Now this particular write-up is 24.1. I'm going to change this one to 24.1 so that everything matches. The search, we do Poppins once more, and then we are done with the navigation bar. This particular write-up, we do Poppins. You can try out other types of fonts for your own design. It doesn't really matter. But make sure you're not using any write-up that is going to destroy your design. So you can use Poppins, you can use Montserrat, but you have to mix it properly. So let's do Montserrat here. Then let's do, okay, this particular write-up is bolded, so we remove the bold. Also here, we do Montserrat. And here, remove the bold and do Poppins. View more. For the view more, we do Poppins. We might actually reduce the size. Okay, we do Poppins, remove the bold. The explore, the same process, we do Poppins. If you feel like the button is too important, you leave it bolded. If the button is not that important, you remove the bold. Are you guys paying attention? Now for this rating, the same process. As you can see, the write-up for the rating before is messed up. But if you use a nice font like Montserrat, the numbers are going to curve perfectly. If the numbers curve, that means the write-up is going to look nicer, way nicer. So we have write-ups changes all over the site right now. So once you are done with that, you can go ahead to present to see how the design looks. And yet, after all the tweaking and all the changes, my background image is not doing justice to the design. That doesn't mean that the design is not nice. The design is very, very perfect. The problem is the background image is not of high quality because I was rushing to start the class. But if I replace this particular image with something else, it might turn out better than this. So anytime you're working on a design, take your time to source out your images. Let me check for, let me search for a farm picture. Let me know if I can switch it out. I need a more this background looks nice, but I need a more background that has more agricultural vibe. You understand? So you can just take your time, scroll through the platform until you get a nice picture that you enjoy or something like that. Unless you have some certain targets or you have a certain picture in mind, or you go to Google and get a nicer picture. But just like I said, you can always do your make your changes. It's not a problem. Always make your changes. And if I change this picture, let's assume I use this. I position backward, 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 backward. Let me just do to the back, and then I bring forward on top of that particular image. So as you can see, this looks a little bit better than the other one, depending, like I said, it depends on what you have in mind. And then if you feel like you want to accommodate two pictures, you can just swipe this one half this way. You see what I'm doing? I'm swapping it to halfway. You know, I have two pictures over here. I can swap this one to halfway and then I rotate it from the side. Let's see how it's going to look. So if I swipe it and rotate from the side, you can have something like this. Are you guys seeing this? Hope you guys are seeing this. So you can add two pictures, rotate the other one by the side, and just drag it. So we have two blended pictures. That's if you are confused on the image to use. But most times, having a simple picture like this is okay. You guys understand? Having a simple picture like this is okay. You don't need to do too much. You don't need to do too much. So this is what we have for today's class, guys. If you have any question, you can ask your question. If you enjoyed the class, the section, you can also indicate. And then I don't know if you should do reviews for today's class. Okay, let's just go ahead and do a review. So you're going to unmute your mic and then tell me the parts of the design you like. If you have a question, you can also ask your question. And then let's go from there. So who is the first person to, okay, let's start with Jane and Richard. So go ahead and unmute your mic. What do you think about the design?
My favorite part of the design is when you align all of the text together.
Okay, so that's the best part. That's the most important part, actually. Once your designs are aligned properly, just watch out for those red lines. Once your designs are aligned properly, automatically you have a nice, no matter how bad the design looks, once it's aligned, it has a structure. Hope you guys understand. It's all about shapes and alignments. The test also is all about shapes and alignments. Okay, let's go ahead to Jane. Jane, what do you think about the design?
She's not here.
Okay. The next person is Kamsi Ochuku. Kamsi Ochuku, what do you think about the design? Do you have any confusions, any questions, or whatever?
My favorite bit was like aligning it as well.
Okay. What else? Nothing else? Okay, so Emanuela, what do you think about the design?
I liked it, and my favorite part was the way we rounded everything to make it look neater.
Okay, so you guys paid attention to that also. The tests we are looking off when we did the design for the first time, but after changing the font to Poppins and removing the bolded tests, we have a cleaner design. Because if you have too much bolded tests, automatically it ruins the design. That's what she means. The next person is Ike Chuku.
I liked
Ike,
the.
I
I
think
like.
you have. Did you have any issues during this class? Because you kept on asking questions.
It was only one. It was only with the corners.
Okay, but you have gotten the corners right.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you like about your design?
I like the consistency of the font.
Consistency of what?
The fonts.
Okay. You know, I told you guys before that if you're working on a design, you can only mix up 2 or 3 fonts. That's what I say. 2 or 3 fonts, complementary fonts. Poppins and Montserrat is complementary. You can use it too. But there are some fonts you cannot mix up. But if you use 2 fonts or 3 fonts, it's easier for you to understand what you're doing. Let me show you an example. If you search for fonts complementary, you're going to have these different websites. So you can see here we have the learning guide for Canva. We have the Canva learning guide. So if you search for fonts complementary, you can click on this Canva learning guide so that they can explain to you how you mix up fonts. So this is the Canva learning guide. So there are some fonts that go together. You can understand how it works. There are some fonts that go together. So we have serif, we have sans serif, we have hierarchy, we have alignment, and slab serif. All these ones you can use together. Over here we have LixPata, we have Libra, Baskerville. So we have different fonts that you can use together. So that's the essence of this page. So they can just show you how to what's it called, mix up fonts so that you can have a cleaner design. Well, if you don't know how to do that, just research on it, search for fonts complementary, then you understand how to do that. Any other question, any other issues so far? Any questions? If you don't have a question, give thumbs down. No question. Richard, no question. Kansi Ochiko. Emanuela, no question. All right. So if you enjoy the class, go ahead and give a thumbs up, and then we can end the section. Thank you for attending this section. If you have any questions, try as much as possible to replicate this design. Maybe if you come for the next class, if you did your own, we're going to review it properly. All right, guys. See you next week. Bye.